Thank you very much for inviting me in IMCAS Brazil, and I'm honored to be there virtually with you. I'm very sorry that I was not able to be in person with you due to complications with traveling and visa. I have no conflicts of interest, and this presentation is based on 56 articles authored by myself, and I have the references and books that have been translated in 12 languages. Now, first of all, do not believe what's on print. That's very important when you evaluate any published studies. You always look for conflict of interest. At the end of the study, you're going to see whether their journals have asked for payment. And usually when the device is mentioned, their journals are asking for payment, or there is a conflict of interest of the author. Always you need to check the data. This very important. Standard normal distribution is 66%, it says here, or slight reduction of keloids. Well, that is not significant statistically. This is according to one laser studies that I was reviewing. So you always must look for statistical significance. The least is 0.05. That means 95% got the effect, the benefit from the treatment. If it's less than that, then that's not statistically significant. Also, check for long-term follow-up. If there's no long-term follow-up, there can be side effects of ulcerations or hyperpigmentation. Animal models are not usually appropriate for hair. If it's financed, like this article, for example, is financed by Hair Max, well, not only there's no statistical significance, there's an animal model, and on top of it, it's financed. Therefore, we don't know about whether the article is basically valid. Sometimes the emperor has no claws. Now, for example, here, I don't see very much difference. I don't know if you can. Actually, the before seems to be a little better than the after. I don't know if you start counting hair, maybe you find a difference, but there's no visible difference. And that's what people care for, that they look better. That is the most important thing. And sometimes when you do combined treatments, for example, they have 5% minoxidil and laser, and when you look at the results separately, you don't see that much results. So you don't know whether it's the minoxidil or whether it's a laser that basically produce the results. Now, let's start from the beginning. What causes hair loss? It's a systemic problem. It's genetics and hereditary. When you talk about genetics, you talk about hereditary. Here you have an autoimmune condition, and that's, again, that can cause a hair loss. Stress will cause hair loss. Trichognomania, when you pull your hair. And why you do that? Basically, because of stress or because of some other disorder that you have that is psychological, telogen effluvium, alopecia areata, different things. That's the trichognomania. Basically, you pull your hair. Cortisol, T3 imbalance is going to cause hair loss. High cortisol and T3 that can be imbalanced, very important. So hair loss and metabolism, there's a lot of articles that are talking about metabolism will affect hair loss. And also nutrition, malnutrition will cause hair loss. Zinc, B12, biotin deficiency, all those are going to basically poor diet. Very important, one of the most important components that will cause hair loss is inflammation. And when we do laser RF, we have to look at the inflammation. We always need to get the CRP index to find out if any of these technologies has caused inflammation in the system. There are a lot of articles about alopecia and inflammation, and more articles basically that I'm bringing to your attention. Of course, it's about the many articles you can find in my references. Could not obviously put all of them. Now, trauma-based scarring and hair loss, it can be based on trauma. Now, when we talk about trauma, again, we need to look at different procedures that could cause trauma. And that means initially they might stimulate some hair growth, but then in the long run, they might cause hair loss. So we have to be careful careful about the inflammation that can cause hair loss. And of course, radio frequency does cause inflammation. There's a lot of articles on that. So we have to know how much of radio frequency we can use. That's all these very important considerations that we have to know before we utilize these technologies. Now, RF also denatures proteins. And what is proteins? Proteins are the brains of the cells. When the proteins inside the cells are denatured, they give nonsense signals, and a lot of bad things can happen. So aging, Alzheimer's disease, diabetes, a lot of diseases, aging. A classic example of protein denaturation is when you fry an egg, okay? So it doesn't just affect the proteins of the cells that you are involved in, but all the other cells in the area that basically affect and it kind of contaminate the entire area. Basically, it's a contagious effect that results in more protein unfolding. And again, protein folding is the brain is intact of the cell, and when it's unfolded, the cell is brain dead. So 15 out of 19 studies showed utility of RF for long-term hair removal. It's very good to use radio frequency for hair removal, but about hair growth is a whole different thing. And most studies are about hair removal. And there's utility of lasers for hair removal as well. So let's use things for what they're made for, what they're much better. Basically, they can address a problem much better. Stem cells and hair growth, advantages of mesenchymal stem cells is the availability. They're easy to isolate and expand. They are pluripotent. They can differentiate into almost all types of cells. And you can have disadvantages because they have limited replicative lifespan, and there are ethical and political issues. Upon transplantation in vivo and differentiated human and animal embryonic stem cells, not mesenchymal, but the embryonic stem cells can basically rapidly degenerate and create teratomas, which is tumors. So hair growth and stem cells, it has been used consistently, but we need more research in this area before we utilize stem cells for hair growth. And we have to be careful with embryonic stem cells. The mesenchymal stem cells, of course, do not have the problems that embryonic stem cells have of teratomas. However, they have limited differentiation potential and basically the senescence that can end up making them as dangerous as the embryonic stem cells. So we have to be very careful. The other problem is when we do injections, we have to consider immunorejection. In other words, the immune system will reject it. So yes, you have them inside the system, but they're not doing anything because the immune system has made them inactive. Exosomes, that's again a problem. Help in the hair growth. However, there can be problems with exosomes as well, and it's a 50-50%. So using exosomes for hair growth, you have to be, again, very careful because the exosomes have contributed in the development of several diseases. So although exosome therapy may serve as a new approach for hair growth and skin repair, the translation of preclinical studies to clinic needs more extensive. Now we have a new technology, the RET resonance energy transfer. It's since 1950 from Foster. We call it fluorescent resonance energy transfer, and that again basically repair proteins, and by repairing proteins you can increase hair growth that way. What is resonance is basically a process of amplification of two interactive synchronized signals, and this is more of the resonance and how resonance can basically extend to different cells. And this is a chain reaction in resonance, and how, and here you see how you see resonance under the microscope, and how you can combine signals to basically enhance the resonance that will affect the hair growth, because it will basically protect. This is how signals can be made, by packed one on top of the other to resonate with the cells. And this is a study that we did with this technology that we found, and we did 5 treatments before and after 3 months. And this is the first treatment. You can see and in a response, immediate response on the hair, and on the even on the places that you did not apply the technology. And then from the first treatment to the second treatment, you see significant hair growth, and the hair grows back black. And then you see an even more significant hair growth after the third treatment, the fourth treatment even more, and after the fifth treatment, you see a significant hair growth even with the. So it's a good technology. This is a different clinical study that was made with a similar technology. Again, resonance energy transfer. That's after 4 treatments. Again, a different a different aspect of this technology after 4 treatments, before and after. And this is only a week later, and you can see some growth. It became even more eventually. This is what we call the Foster resonance energy transfer. And basically what you see here is how under the microscopes, the cells are communicating with each other, and how basically, and it's through resonance. There is no connection between these cells. This technology can fold proteins, and skin hair loss can be basically eliminated. Hair loss can be eliminated by refolding these proteins that can basically reinstate communications into the system through the resonance. There is a measurement test that is called the second viral coefficient, SUV, and this is different studies of that we did of hair growth before and afters, and published studies. So beauty, health is beauty, but beauty is not health. Thank you very much. And if you have any questions, please, you can email me at science@iellios.com. Thank you.